Now, here's a really interesting note breakdown. We're talking about rhubarb, raspberry, jungle essence, watery jasmine. There's so many ingredients happening in here. And this was actually the owner of the company's first scent memory bottled. The perfumer is Patricia Chu, and she is a perfumer over at Man. So in today's Cephalabon contributor video, I'm going to be telling you all about this brand new fragrance by Gentleman's Nod. It's called Courant Eternel. I'm also going to let you in on a very special giveaway opportunity. And before I begin today's episode, I do want to mention that, of course, if you are a fan of fragrance-related content and if you love smelling your best, hit subscribe, hit the bell, and please give this video a thumbs up for the YouTube algorithm. It would really, really mean a lot to me. So I want to start things off by saying that we have a brand new fragrance here with a really interesting note breakdown. The pepper, the rhubarb, the raspberry, the jasmine. There's a hint of musk and amber in the dried down. So this is a very floral, watery, but smooth and velvety type of a fragrance. It actually comes across smelling quite sensual. I don't know if that's what was intended. I think Patricia Chu did a phenomenal job composing this fragrance, but I truly want to start the video off first by saying that if you like this type of content, please subscribe and also participate in the giveaway. This is a Cephalabon contributor video, so you have the opportunity to walk away with a bottle. That's a fantastic idea, right? I want you to go home with a bottle. All you have to do is shoot on over to cephalabon.com. It's going to be the first link down below in the description box. After you become a registered reader, just drop a thoughtful comment on the article. It's actually a really, really simple process. And just make sure to check back on over to cephalabon.com on the date that's mentioned in the article, because that's when the winner is going to be announced, right? So if you get selected as the lucky winner, I want you to be able to claim your spoils. So here we have just an absolutely mesmerizing fragrance. And I'm gonna be honest with you, in my opinion, it's perfectly unisex, but I personally would love to smell this on a woman. I think that hint of raspberry in the opening, that slightly spicy tendency that does not lean exotic or anything like that. Typically, when I think of exotic, I think of saffron, I think of cardamom, I think of all of these other spices, but here we have just a hint of pepper in the opening. And I think it's that raspberry in the opening that, and by the way, raspberry is a trending note as of late. For me personally, raspberry comes across smelling quite sensual, a bit playful. Depending on the concentration, it can also be a bit provocative with a hint of danger. And we've seen that with a lot of modern releases nowadays. The new Chanel Chance Splendide, I think, is the new flanker. And there's also La Vie est Belle, L'Elixir by Lancôme. So a lot of new perfumes are utilizing raspberry, but I love the fact that in this perfume, it's used in a very tasteful and modest manner. And what I mean by that is that it's not overdosed, right? There's not a heaping dose of raspberry in here to make it smell sickeningly sweet or juvenile or overly youthful or anything like that, but it is playful, it is sensual, and it's rather flirtatious as well. I think if you are a fan of perfumes like Chanel Chance or Chanel Chance Eau Tendre, I think you're really gonna love this one. It just has a very smooth, silky, velvety aroma, something that is super easy to wear, highly versatile, huge compliment factor. I think this one is absolutely beautiful. So let's go ahead and take a moment to talk about how it progresses on my skin. And I actually sprayed this test strip about 15 to 20 minutes ago, more in the vein of 15. And as I'm smelling it now, that watery jasmine really comes through. Yes, it is a bit jungle-y. There's this jungle essence ingredient in here, which I think is really special and really unique. And then there's also this clean white floral heart that really stands out in this fragrance. So as you're smelling it, it smells very clean, very smooth. I think what's really interesting about it is that there's this tomato leaf ingredient in here as well. And that kind of adds to the jungle aura, if you will. Now, my experience with tomato leaf has been quite strong in the perfume industry, I suppose. I love fragrances like Un Jardin sur le Nil by Hermès, and a lot of these, aqueous fragrances that also have a vegetal aspect to them. But I love that a lot of these ingredients that would initially give one the impression that they could be a bit off-putting or maybe a bit too quirky or far-fetched, they're actually used in a very mild concentration. So you're not going to get too much of that jungle essence. You're not going to get too much of that tomato leaf. You're not going to get too much of that pepper, that black pepper that is in here, or even rhubarb. Rhubarb can have a bit of a strawberry vibe, but it can also come across quite vegetal. And I love that everything is balanced so nicely and so appropriately that nothing comes across smelling too strong, so that it doesn't smell like a novelty scent. And I think that's what I appreciate the most about it. It's one of these really interesting fragrances where you smell it, and my initial thought was, okay, I would love to smell this on a woman. This is very mass appealing, huge compliment getter. This is an everyday type of fragrance, although myself personally, I would prefer to wear this in the spring and summer. But at the same time, as I'm smelling it and it's unfolding on my skin, I'm thinking to myself, it's different from everything that I've tried. And I think when it comes to Gentleman's Nod, everything that I've tried from this brand, whether it's Tusitalia or Lawman or Outlaw, like all of their fragrances that I've tried are quite different. And I think that is one thing that is significantly and severely working in the favor of this brand. If you pick up anything from this brand, you can guarantee that you're not going to smell like anybody else, right? These are not twists of popular formulas. These are not, Middle Eastern interpretations of very popularly selling DNAs. No. We're talking about 100% unique and original fragrances. And this is the one thing that I really admire, adore, and appreciate the most about this brand, because I know every time that I open a brand new bottle of Gentleman's Nod, I'm going to be introduced to a novel olfactive experience. I'm going to be traveling along a novel olfactory landscape. And I personally love that about this brand. So I'm going to tell you this. This is a huge compliment getter. I would personally prefer to smell this on a woman. I know I've repeated myself thrice, but I think if you have a young lady in your life, or maybe perhaps even an older lady, especially with Mother's Day and everything that's happening, I think this is absolutely gorgeous. I think this is a beautiful perfume. And by the way, it's shared, right? So it's perfectly androgynous. All of the ingredients are androgynous, even jasmine. Jasmine is used quite commonly in men's fragrances, even though it's not really put on the proverbial pedestal, because I think a lot of men have that, dare I say, antiquated mindset that if it's floral, it's for women, and that's not always the case. We see a lot of ingredients like jasmine, like rose, like iris are quite androgynous. So I personally am really adoring this fragrance. And I just think this one is going to be a hit. I think it's such an easy fragrance to recommend, whereas perhaps some other offerings can be a bit on the daring side of things. So I have to often give you a preface by saying that if you like these types of fragrances, chances are you will also like this. For this one, I can just very easily, very quickly, and very confidently say it has super mass appeal. It is such a likable DNA, a lovable DNA. So please get your nose on this. Now, first up, in terms of the uniqueness and the overall smell, for me personally, it is unique. There's really no other one fragrance that I can make a direct or explicit comparison to. Oftentimes, if we're talking about an overly tropical, fruity fragrance, you say it smells like Herbapura. If there's pineapple, oh, it smells like Aventus. If there's a lot of ethyl maltol, Baccarat Rouge, whatever the case may be. But when it comes to fragrances from this brand, super unique, super original. So longevity on my skin was in the vein of 7 hours, which is quite average, especially given this note breakdown. Even as far as the amber that's in the dry down, usually amber is a prescribed blend of vanilla, labdanum, and benzoin, with sometimes other resins thrown into the mix. It is not sweet at all, and it doesn't smell balsamic or sickly or viscous or syrupy or anything like that. So I think the amber being utilized is very mild, although I do get a clean musky base that I think works very well in harmony with the jasmine. As far as the projection for this fragrance is concerned, a little bit beyond an arm's length. For the first hour to hour and a half of application, it became an elbow's length scent right around hour 4.5 to 5, and then a skin scent right around hours 7 to 8, depending on your skin chemistry, of course, depending on your pH levels. As far as the versatility is concerned, perfectly unisex. I'd love to smell this on a woman. Fantastic for the spring and summer, so now is the best time to wear this one. And I also think that this one would work well for any demographic, younger side of things, older side of things. It really doesn't matter, and I can see this one being worn formally or casually. There's a professional demeanor about it, but again, it also conveys a hint of sensuality on account of that jasmine and raspberry combination. I think it's really interesting. And even the rhubarb is a nice contributor to the DNA and the sensuality of it as well. As far as the presentation is concerned, really nice presentation, and I love the attention to detail on the cap as well. Wooden cap, distribution, nice and wide. My final verdict on this fragrance is I think it's a beautiful jasmine-based fragrance with some jungle or vegetal elements that are not too strong that put it in novelty territory. This is just a beautiful, mass-appealing, super easy-to-wear fragrance. I think it's a brilliant composition by perfumer Patricia Chu, who is over at Mon. Thank you so much for joining me. That was my review of Courant Eternel. And this is just a really wonderful fragrance, and I hope you have the opportunity to try it and get your nose on it. And just everything about the graphic on the bottle, the attention to detail, I think is really nice, really personalized, and I'm sure it's quite poignant for the brand owner and founder. Again, make sure to participate in the giveaway. This is, after all, a Seth Laban contributor video. All you have to do is follow the first link down below in the description box and leave a thoughtful comment on the article. I really appreciate your viewership, and I sincerely hope you took something of value from today's episode. And of course, if you did, please do consider supporting the channel by clicking subscribe, hitting the bell, and giving this video a thumbs up. It would really mean the world to me. Thanks again so much for tuning in. I love you all, and we'll see you tomorrow with a new episode. Bye.